Hey kids, and welcome to another episode of Virtual Sunday School. I'm so excited to tell you this story because we kind of pick up where we left off last week about creation, and we learned about Noah. And so in the Bible, a couple of books later on, we learn about God's people called the Israelites. So God called a very special group of people, and they were called the Israelites, and God had something very special planned for them. So they were kind of slaves for a while. That means they were not their own people, and the Egyptians took over them for a while. So they were kind of sad, and then God rescued them from Egypt. And so now they're in the wilderness, and they're looking for this promised land that God said, I promise I'm going to give you this special place where you can all live together. And this place is beautiful. It's a land flowing with milk and honey. And the Israelites were so excited to go to their new home. It's been a while since they had their own home, and there were so many of them. So they were really excited. So what happened was they have a new leader now. His name is Joshua. And God told Joshua, listen, I know I promised you this land, but it's going to be kind of hard to try to live there because, see, the thing is, there's people already living there. And Joshua's like, well, what are we going to do, God? So God specifically told Joshua, he said, this is what I want you to do. I want you to send 2 spies or 2 men to go inside the land that I promised you inside of Jericho, which was a city in Canaan. And I want you to look around and see what's going on in the place so that you guys will be able to capture it and I can give you this special land. So the promised land was called Canaan, right? So Joshua said, okay, God, I'm going to obey everything you say. So now we learn that these 2 spies have to secretly go into the land that they were promised in Canaan, and it was a city called Jericho. So the thing about Jericho is it has huge walls. Have you ever seen a wall so big that you can't even look over it? And even if you look up, it feels like it's about to touch the sky. It's so big. Maybe you've heard of the Great Wall of China. I don't know if you guys learned about that yet, but it's a huge wall and it's so long and it covers and protects the whole city. And that's what this wall looked like. So it was kind of intimidating and it was kind of scary, but the spies made it in. So once the spies got into the land, they were scared and somehow somebody found out that, wait a minute, there's 2 people here that we don't know where they're from, and maybe they're the Israelites that are trying to take our city. And the people inside Jericho were very scared. They were scared of the Israelites already because they had heard so many great things that God did. So there was one person, one woman, and her name was Rahab. Okay, can you guys say Rahab with me? Good job. So Rahab, she actually saw that the spies were trying to look around the city and scope it out, but they started to realize that people are coming after them maybe. So Rahab said, oh man, if these people of God are captured, then my people are gonna probably kill them because they don't want the Israelites taking their land. So Rahab said, I have an idea. I'm going to call them into my house and maybe I'll have a safe place for them. So the 2 spies, the 2 men, they go into Rahab's house. And guess what happened? The people of the land found out. The people of Jericho, the soldiers, the king found out. So he sent their soldiers and they knew they were in Rahab's house. So guess what the soldiers did? They knocked on Rahab's door and they said, hey, Rahab, we know you're carrying the spies in there, and we know there's 2 men hiding, and we want you to bring them out right now because they're going to be in really big trouble. They snuck into our city, and we know they're going to take our city. And Rahab opens the door, and she's like, well, I don't know what you're even talking about. I think I saw them earlier, but I think they went that way. And she tricked the soldiers. Now, side note, kids, it's not okay to trick people and to lie about something or lie to somebody, but this was a special situation because Rahab knew God and she was trying to protect the spies from being killed because she knew that the spies were God's people, okay? This is very important to know. Okay, so then she went to the spies and she said, listen, you're gonna have to hide, okay, because these guys are looking for you and they're pretty smart. They're probably gonna find you really quickly. So she went up to her roof and she hid them and she said to them, listen, all right, I'm taking a big risk by hiding you guys, so you gotta do something for me. I heard that your God was really important and he does a lot of miracles and he can do anything. And so I believe in your God, but I know that you're going to come into my city and you're going to destroy everything and you're going to kill all the people because you want to live here. So I gotta make a deal with you guys. If I hide you and I risk my life to hide you, you have to promise not to destroy my house or my family and my mom and my dad and there's my cousin Joe, and you gotta save him, okay? And then there's my sister Susie, and you gotta save her too, and then my dog, and there's a couple of my uncles and aunts back there, and well, you gotta kind of save a lot of people. Is that okay? And so the spies were like, well, yeah, of course. You're saving us and you're helping us, so we'll save your family too, okay, Rahab? But you gotta do one thing for us. You gotta help us escape the city and you have to do another special thing. So Rahab said, okay, listen, I have this scarlet rope. What's a scarlet rope? It's kind of like a red rope, right? Maybe something like this. And she said, I'm gonna put this rope down and in my window so that you guys can escape because my house is right next to the huge wall that you jumped over to get inside here. Yeah, so I'm gonna put this scarlet rope there and it's gonna hang from my window, but you gotta promise that you're gonna save me. Remember you said you were gonna save me? And the spy said, okay, Rahab, we're gonna go down this rope and we're gonna escape the city because you helped us. But when we come to attack the city, make sure to keep this scarlet rope there. So we know when the people come in to take over your land, they're gonna be like, hey, this is Rahab's house. We gotta look for the scarlet rope so that we know not to harm anybody in the house. Wow, that must have been a really scary time for Rahab. But you know what was important? She trusted God. Even though the people in her city probably didn't know God, or maybe they heard about him, but they didn't believe God, Rahab, she knew what the right thing was. And she believed that God was going to protect her and her family. So she saved God's people. And you know what else was really cool is she was mentioned later on in the Bible as someone who had so much faith. And I know we talked about faith before. It means doing something, believing something without seeing it. And even though Rahab didn't see, or she wasn't really sure whether she was going to be rescued, she had to believe it in her heart, right? And that's what I want you kids to take away from this lesson. I know there was kind of a lot of parts to this lesson and maybe you understood some of it, but the most important thing I want you to remember is that Rahab was obedient. That means she obeyed God and she listened to the spies and she left the rope hanging outside of her window and she knew that God was going to save her and her family. And we can practice faith just like Rahab did too, okay? So I hope you guys like that story and I hope everybody's having a great week. And I know most of you sent all of your memory verses and I'm so excited to watch them. and I hope you're staying safe. I'm praying for you kids, and I love you very much. I'll see you next week.